Hi, everyone. Hello, everybody.
It's Transparent
Tuesday. Ooh, ooh, ooh.
It's been a Tuesday, guys.
Yeah, it's been a Tuesday, but we're victorious.
We are.
Mm, mm. Yeah, I don't know if anybody else been dealing with this pollen, but this pollen is really not trying to keep a sister with her voice and everything. Been fighting that yellow green. Woo, something. I'm ready for the spring and summer, but without the pollen, please.
Hi, Wendy. Good evening.
Hi, Wendy. Wendy, you can work in that heavenly store. I know you'll be on time.
Yeah.
A few minutes to join us. We be running a little bit behind.
Hi, Chef Dino 1.
Oh, thanks for
Hi,
joining
Southern
us.
Stud 200.
Joining us. Welcome, welcome,
And
welcome.
Andrew. Hi, Morgan.
Hi, my Morgan. Thanks for joining.
All right, guys. So today we're going to talk about a psyche reset.
Yes. Reset. A true reset. So if you have a button in front of you, press that reset button. If you don't, act like you have
Oh my
one.
goodness. I have got to shout this person out. My aunt is on here.
Ooh.
Kim Paul.
Oh, yes. He's going to be here. Yes.
Hi.
Yes. Hit that reset button, y'all. We're going to have a good topic tonight. We want to talk about the psyche reset because we need that. We really need to talk tonight and just have some conversation, right, about what we have going on. So, yeah.
So it's gonna be a real conversation. One that a lot of people experience but don't always talk about. So we're gonna talk about what it feels like to be overwhelmed, overstimulated, and like constantly pouring into others, without realizing that our own soul needs care too, right? And when we talk about our own soul, what I mean is by the psyche, right? The psyche is dealing with your inner world, and that dealing with your emotions, with your soul, with your spirit, and it all ties in with the mind, body, and soul.
Yeah. Yep. So before we get started, because we do have some new folks joining us, and we're so happy to have you here. I am Brenda Hampton, and this is
Brittany.
And this is Brittany, and we are the Psyche in Me. So we encourage you we're on all platforms to look us up and see exactly what it's all about. To see what we are. We're not psychics. That is not who we are. But we are two that believe in dealing with the whole psyche. And so Brittany does a wonderful job of explaining that. Brittany is a clinical psychologist. And so she does a good job of bringing in the psyche in regards to that. And then I am a minister. And so I bring it in from the soulful perspective. And so we bring it together because it takes the whole package, not just one, but all of it needs to work together in order for you to have that healthy life. So it's a community for everybody, every walks of life. But we just invite everyone to come out and just, partake in it. Put your, comments in the chat. We enjoy that. But we welcome you and we thank you for joining us. So let's dive into it again. For those just joining us, we're going to be talking about the needing that psyche reset because we all need to take that reset. So let us jump right into it. So, this conversation tonight is for people who are always there for others, and I know that is for myself. So I'm so excited um, because it is something that we often do. We show up for everything, right? Even when we know we are exhausted. We try to make it to everybody's functions, to be that supportive person for everybody. So this conversation is for you guys. And so the encouragers, right? The ones who are always encouraging people, always finding yourself being that person, sometimes in your family, being that person everybody comes to for encouragement or for support. You being the one that's the supporter or the listener. Who doesn't like a great listener? It's hard to find good listeners. So when people find good listeners, tag you're it. So they tend to call you about everything, because you are a good listener. And then they like the ones that are, the prayer warriors. I've heard people say, oh, they can pray a prayer through. And so they tend to call you for everything. Everybody wants you to do all the things. Go to the shelters and go to this and go to that. Not that that's not a great thing, but sometimes it can get a little overwhelming. This is for the ones that are the helpers. If you're that person that's a helper of all people, sometimes it can get a little overwhelming. So this is who this conversation is for. And sometimes, those very people that I just called out, are the people who uplift everyone else, right? Yeah. And then you are silently, because a lot of times when we are those people, we don't say anything. We just carry all of that weight with us silently. So you are the ones that we're wanting to speak to tonight, and I'll raise my hand because I'm one of those people too. So hopefully what we share tonight can help you, help me to stay focused and knowing that it's okay to reset.
Yep, exactly. And so, as I mentioned before, just I see some more joining in, so I'm just gonna kind of reiterate and kind of be a little redundant here. But we want to talk about the psyche again, as I mentioned before, your inner world, right? That's your mind, your emotions, your soul. And so when life gets heavy, your psyche can become overloaded. And if we ignore that long enough, we start to feel again overwhelmed, overstimulated. And I think that's an important piece that we need to talk about today. Is what does overwhelming look like? What does overstimulation look like? Because I know overstimulated means like sometimes it's with sensory, like a lot of noises, a lot of lights and things like that. Maybe you may be sensitive to, but also when it comes to the noises, it can be the noises and voices of others. It don't have to just be like a loud horn or certain things. So I want to dive into that as well.
Yeah.
In this segment.
I'm excited about it. I'm excited about tonight because when we do Transparent Tuesday, it really is being transparent. We're helping ourselves through while helping you too. So that's why we say put your comments in if you're feeling what we're saying, if you can contribute to others and support each other and uplift each other. That's what it's about. But here's the important part, right? To all that we're talking about, right? Being overwhelmed doesn't mean you're weak. Sometimes we want to be so strong and put that strong front on and keep going and going and going. Can I talk about it? Yes, because I was that person and I still am sometimes. But we, feel like we gotta be the strong ones. We can't let nobody know that woo, this is overwhelming me. It's a lot. I'm taking on a lot. But that doesn't mean that you're weak because you just admit that you're overwhelmed. That doesn't mean that you're weak. It means that you are human. We all need to say that I am human. We are human beings, y'all. And so it doesn't mean that we're weak, but we're human. And sometimes your soul just simply needs a rest. And it is simply asking you, can you please reset me? That's what your soul is sometimes saying to you. Hello, can you please just reset me for a moment?
Yep. And so we're gonna start off with the reality of being the strong one. And yes, I am using the quotation marks.
Yes.
And that's a lot that so many can relate to. As you mentioned, you can attest to that. And people see you as strong, they assume you don't need support. Right? If you're the strong one, they're thinking everything's well, you got this smile on your face, you're easygoing. It's like, okay, you don't really need the support. You are the support. But that is not true.
Not at all. Not at all. And that's absolutely correct. I'm telling you now. I will raise my hand and I gave a round of applause because that is me. But when you're known as that one, right, who gives advice and encouragement, people naturally come to you. And that's just, you just draw them. Like, you just draw them in. But what people don't realize is that strength doesn't mean you don't get tired, right?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean that we don't get tired, because we do. Because again, we are human.
Oh yeah, and sometimes the strong ones don't even realize, right, that you're overwhelmed until like your mind and your body actually like start responding to it. And then sometimes when it responds to it, your mind and your body, it's a little too late.
Ooh, now that's good. That's real good. Because I'll say this, just to interject right there, was like, sometimes I can be in the middle of something, I'll forget something, and I'll be like, oh my gosh. You know, the first thing you think about is, oh, you know, am I forgetting stuff? But what I've come to realize is when I am overwhelmed with so much stuff up here in my brain is really saying, hey, yo, you're overloading me, right? It's not that it's something going on or I'm about to lose my memory. It's just, it's so much up there, that I'm trying to process what I'm talking about, but at the same time, I'm still thinking about other things, right? Yeah. So, what can that look like, right? You know, feeling mentally drained. How does that look? Like, how does that look? You know, getting irritated more easily. That's one way. Yeah. Like, nobody did nothing different than what they normally do to you, but because you are so overwhelmed, you start snapping at them for no reason. And they looking at you like, what's wrong with you? You know, so it's those feelings, like, you know, or it can be another feeling like emotionally numb. Oh, yeah. Right? Like you just numb. You're emotionally numb. Yeah. And then, you know, if you got a partner, you know, they looking at you like, well, what's your problem? Right? But I can't even be emotionally attached to the situation because I'm just numb from being so overwhelmed with other people's problems, issues, and or just overextending myself.
And life in general.
Yeah.
And sometimes again with that stimulation, like I said, that'd be too much noises, conversation, or just responsibility can just feel like too much. It don't even have to be all the noise and kind of the general things, the things we don't think about, just conversation. Sometimes having conversations, if you at the workplace, I ain't saying it because I'm loud, but mine's is cool, so now. But sometimes it can be draining, or having a conversation with someone who's, yeah, I'm just limited. It can be draining for the Transparent Tuesday. Conversation, depending on who you're holding them with, it can be very, very draining. And then responsibility, you feel like you're having to be responsible for every single thing, whether it's projects, whether it's people, anything that can feel like too much, especially like for the caregivers. Like,
yeah,
it's a lot.
That's true. Now I can say that with just seeing how, you know, my family had to take care of my dad and my sister. She really did it. But just seeing sometimes that, and even my sister-in-law, just seeing her take care of her mother, it's a lot. And for those that are taking care of other people, you know, with different things going on, it can be a lot. It can be, and you have to be careful, because a lot of times when you're busy taking care of others, your body is breaking down as well, and you don't realize that. So you got to be able to take care of yourself. And so when these things happen, you know, like Brittany was saying with the overstimulation, like too much, or you just feel like it's too much responsibility and things like that. When you see that, it usually a signal from your psyche saying, I need some space, I need some rest. So when you start feeling that overstimulation, you know, like she was saying, with conversations or responsibilities or whatever life brings to you, that you really need to be paying attention to your psyche, all of it, to know that it's warning you and trying to tell you, hey, I need some space. I need rest.
But you know what I think? And I'm just being transparent. I think many people ignore it. And when I'm saying many people, y'all, I'm talking about myself. I think we ignore it, or ignore the signal, because we feel responsible for everyone else. Like me, it's not even like a people pleaser, because if anybody know me, I really don't care to please people. But for the ones in my loyalty that I'm with, and the ones who support me are there for me, it's like I feel like I'm obligated, have a responsibility to kind of be there for everyone else. And if I'm not, I'm like, I might let them down. Yeah. And sometimes that can be a lot too, because you're trying to go here and there. And I think we kind of talked about that before, where sometimes it's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, to that, that's where burnout comes.
Yeah.
What you just said,
Yeah.
that's where burnout comes. That's
Yeah.
where it begins.
Yeah.
That's where burnout begins, y'all. Hear me loud and clear. With what Brittany just said, you feeling like you got to be the one because there's no one else. If no one else is gonna be there, I'm gonna be there. That was me. It still is to a certain degree, but I have chilled out a little bit, but not as much as I need to. Because I don't want to disappoint nobody or make no one feel like, oh, she doesn't think my event is important or she doesn't, whatever the case may be. So I find myself sometimes at a burnt out place or starting to get burnt out, right? To where I'm like, can't wait to get home and get straight into bed because I'm tired.
Yeah. So I have a question. I'm gonna see if I can try to type it in, or maybe I'll do that at the end. But y'all just ponder on this. Like, have you ever been in a season where like everyone needed you, but you realized you needed help too? Because I have. So if you ever been in a season where you felt like everyone needed you, but you realized you needed help too, just a little discussion we can talk about afterwards, just to think about. And so I know, like, okay, but what does reset means to you or to the psyche? So let's talk about resetting the psyche. When we say reset, like, what does that really mean?
Yeah. So think about that when you reset something, like when your what do you call it, modem goes out with your cable box, right? And you call and you're like troubleshooting this and this, and they say, okay, just hit that reset button, and it'll reset everything, right? Everything will start all over, and you'll get a clean slate, right, of your gigabytes and all that stuff, or signals. So when you're resetting your psyche, what that means is giving your mind, your emotions, and your spirit. Remember, those three things is your psyche. That's what makes up your psyche. That's why we're called the psyche in me. So your mind, your emotions, and your spirit, you're giving that the opportunity to slow down and restore balance. Remember what I just used as an analogy with your modem or your phone? Sometimes you have to cut the phone off and cut it back on when it starts acting all crazy and going all slow. Sometimes you have to cut that phone off and cut it back on for it to get that reset, to restore, the functionality of it. So when we're talking about resetting, I'm going to say it again. Resetting your psyche means your mind, resetting your mind, resetting your emotions, and resetting your spirit. The opportunity for you to slow down and restore your balance.
Yeah, because like you said, even with the computer and the phone, sometimes we don't know when to turn off, right? Like some people don't know where to start. But when you think about it with the phone or computer, I know with my phone, you have too many apps on your phone, like running at once, that system slows down. Like sometimes you have to literally close out the apps just for your system to kind of move a little bit faster. So when you're talking about restarting, sometimes people don't even know when to shut down. But sometimes it's okay to kind of close out certain things, swipe some certain things off your plate, or I guess clean certain things off your plate. For when that happens.
Yeah, yeah, and that's key. That you got to be willing to clean things off of your plate. So our minds, right? Using the analogy that we just said, our minds work the same way, right?
Yeah.
That's how our minds work. That exact same way. If we're constantly processing stress, if we're constantly just processing responsibilities, conversations, emotions without resting, without giving your psyche the proper rest, I'm telling you now from experience, I'm telling you eventually your system is going to become overloaded.
Yep. And even with that, like a reset can look different for everyone. Your reset may not look like my reset. So that's another thing. Like your reset is not just tailored to one specific thing. Sometimes you might have to have some resets, and I like reset and relaunch, but since we're talking about reset, sometimes you have to, sometimes you have to turn your phone off every now and then. I forget, but when it start acting up, I already know, like, oh snap, let me go ahead and turn it off, turn it back on, it's working just fine. So everybody reset is different too. So yeah. I just wanted to put that out there.
And that is true, because you can have multiple things going on, right? Because you could be that listener, then you can be that person responsible for taking care of loved ones. So those are different types of things that take on different areas in your life and can follow you down. There was something else you said that I was going to tap into, but it has left me. So when you was talking about resetting, I was
turn off the phone.
yes, yes, and I was gonna say, see, you recognize that something's going on. You need to turn your phone off. But me, I'm just gonna be honest. She's had to tell me, "Ma, you need to cut your phone off and reset." Why? Because I'm trying to make it still do what it needs to do. Right? Knowing something's wrong. Why is it slowing down? Why is it taking so long to connect? But I know something's wrong, right? But I'm still trying to force that thing to still work and function like it should. But sometimes someone's got to remind you, you need to cut it off and reset it. So I thought about that when you said, I was like, yeah, you recognizing me. I'm gonna keep on going. That I'm telling y'all, this is for me tonight. So for some people, right, you got to look at it. It's like quiet time, right? It's like quiet time, and for others, it's prayer. You know, how do you do that? What does reset look like? Remember, we're talking about now what does reset look like when you're resetting your psyche. So for some people, that's quiet time. Like turn your phone off, disconnect from the world for a moment. Turn the social media off for a moment. You know, just give yourself that moment. You know, if you're married, ask your spouse, hey, can you watch the kids just a moment? Let me just have a few moments to myself. Or you're in a relationship, you know, just give me a moment to myself. Sometimes you just need that quiet time, right? And when you have that quiet time, some people like to spend it talking with God. Some people need to be quiet and listen so he can speak to you. But for others, that may be prayer. The others may not be, you know, there. They may like to journal, you know, or walking outside. For me, I need that. I'm telling you, I told my team the other day, get up, y'all. Let's go. We need to take a break from what we're doing here. Let's break up this monotony and let's go outside for a moment. So we actually walked around the building on that nice day just for a woosah, just to reset, get out of that atmosphere, just to change it up. Or it could be simply stepping away from everything for a moment. And even if people don't get it, you know why you stepped away from everything for a moment.
Right, because the important part is that you're actually creating the space for your inner world to breathe again. And again, for some that's trying, Miss Ann on there.
I thought I saw her. Hey, hi sis.
But
thanks for joining.
When you separate and you create space for your inner world to breathe again, like I said, with the inner world, for those that are still joining, that's with your emotions, that's with your psyche, that's connected to your emotions, and to your spirit and stuff like that. It's okay. And just because you're creating a space, like you said, just for a moment, it doesn't mean that when you go back, it's not going to be there. It's still going to be there. But the fact that you created a space just for that moment and you're able to breathe again, you will, I promise, I know I tell a lot of people do breathing technique, like, oh, Miss Brittany, that don't work for me. But I'm telling you, just try to take a deep breath sometime and breathe again. But different strategies work for different people, again, with resetting. So whatever works best for you. But I do have a question as well. Since we are a community, maybe we can learn from one another. Again, like I said, what may work for me may not work for you, but what may work for you might work for somebody else that's in the community. So what activities help you feel mentally or spiritually refreshed? I'm going to type that in. So I just want to see what you guys have to say. Like, what activities help you feel mentally and spiritually refreshed? And then maybe that can help some people out, and then I guess I'll come back and kind of type some things up and do like a little recap.
And maybe see what some people said. I'll look at some comments while you're doing that. The lyric says, I can relate. We have to constantly remember not to think we're bothering people because it's typically our own self-sabotage. You right, lyric. And I think she got some more. Most times our trusted people want to hear from us. That's right. Yeah. That's right. That's right.
Because if we don't,
yeah, we gonna show up.
We showing up.
I pull up a strong. We mean what we say, and we say what we mean. I thought I seen is that prayer is so important. Asking God to help me to know how and when to reset. Amen.
Yeah, and then I go over here with Morgan on Instagram, journaling and quiet time.
Yes.
I love journaling.
Yeah.
That's where I get most of my ideas from here. Literally, I be journaling or sometimes just walking or driving. I'm like, ooh, but I have my journal right there with me, writing down how I feel. Whatever. If I don't have my journal, even at church, sometimes I have my little phone and my notes. I write my notes down, whoever preaching, and write my scriptures and stuff down so I can go back. But I'm still always writing. I always go back and look at all the
Yeah.
comments. So I'll type something up and put it into the what's it called, the little posting that we have in the community. Morning prayer time on the way to work. Oh yeah, and it sets the mood, man. I can tell when I don't do prayer in the morning, my whole day is like thrown off. Like it's like I need it. Like it doesn't feel right, and I can tell. And I'm like, oh Lord, I'm sorry. I always thank Him for waking me up before my feet touch the floor. I need to get on my knees a little bit more. We learned that from morning prayer Tuesday, but I definitely, if I don't do my morning prayer, my whole day is kind of like just thrown off.
Wendy said prayer, exercise, and keeping my TV on. TV off. I'm sorry, keeping my TV off. I should say prayer, journaling. I love being in a quiet place and being in nature. So we got some folks that said, some folks that like to journal. That's good. And that quiet time is so important. You get away from the noise. It's a good time. Mine's being in my car a lot of times with me by myself, riding down that road, just being able to just have that moment to myself, or coming into my office where I can, kneel and pray and just be by myself for a moment, just to reset in life, because it is something else. So keep the comments coming as you are writing it down, and we'll try our best to make sure we acknowledge everybody, because I like to.
Taking walks in nature or singing and worshiping the Lord, He always removes any heaviness.
Yes.
Yeah, that is so true.
I used to love to sing till my voice started changing on, but I still will holler.
I still sing inside my house. I can't sing, but when
I still will holler every now and then.
I do the worship in my house.
Yeah.
But practical ways to help yourself when you're overwhelmed. So we listed some things that we all can kind of look at and kind of take into consideration to see what works best for us. And then I think Elder said, I walk in the woods and see God's glory.
Yeah.
All right now.
I know that's right.
Now I'm gonna tell you, for a different reset.
Yeah.
I ain't the wood person.
Well, I like it because you can just
I
look
like
around,
that. Yeah.
and be amazed at. Sometimes I just look at just amazing how like seasons change, and how it's just amazing of the mountains. If you ever been driving and just see the mountains, and be like, where'd they come from? Like it's just different things to make you realize that there is truly a God. But yeah, let's jump into some practical ways to help yourself, right? And so I think like the first step to it is awareness, right? That's anything, like you join, and to each his own. When people be overcoming certain things, they go to rehabs and they have you stand up. Hi, my name is Brenda, and I'm addicted to Dr. Peppers, and I've been, clean for 30 days. I have a different take on some of that, but anyway and anyhow, to each his own. But I commend anybody that goes to get the help that they need from wherever they feel like the source is what they need. But the first step that they will tell you in trying to help yourself through anything or trying to get deliverance of anything is you got to first be aware of it. You got to first be aware. Awareness is so important. That's your first step. If you're going to do this reset and you're going to, try to get yourself better and recognize things before it gets overwhelming and overloaded, the first step is awareness. Recognize it. A lot of people, they push their feelings to the side, right? Because you're so worried about somebody else's. So you push your stuff to the side. But, acknowledging the fact that you are overwhelmed, and I'm going to be honest with you because it's Transparent Tuesday. I didn't like telling people that. I don't even like to use that word because to me, it made it feel like something was wrong with me. Why am I overwhelmed? I shouldn't be overwhelmed. I got to keep doing this because this is what God told me to do, da-da-da. Is it really? Did He tell me to do it that many times? So I had to learn everybody's not my assignment. That's what I had to learn. But anyway, you got to acknowledge that you're overwhelmed, y'all. Remember what I just said earlier. Being overwhelmed don't mean you're weak. It doesn't mean you're weak at all. But, just acknowledging the fact you're overwhelmed, it truly is a healthy step, right?
Yeah. And like you said, saying like, I need a moment or I need to pause, it's not weakness. It's okay to say that. Like, it's okay to say, just give me a moment. I just need a moment. Or, you know what? I don't say I need a pause. I'll just say pause. Especially depending on what, like, just pause. And then I might take me a breather or go somewhere and everyone would know what that pause means. Like, just pause. It's for me. So it's okay to say that, and it's not weakness. It's actually, like I said, you are aware, as you was mentioning, that your body, your psyche is telling you that, hey, I'm a little overstimulated, I'm a little overworked, overwhelmed. I need to take a break. Um,
Yeah, I do agree with that. And then I think another important tool you just said a moment
I like
ago
that.
is
Sorry, Lyra said we humans burn out for trying to be superhuman.
oh yes, girl, better recognize we are not.
Nope.
But something you just said a moment ago about breathing, how important being able to breathe, like taking that breath, and breathing, and then grounding. Like you gotta stay grounded.
Yeah.
You do gotta stay grounded. Some of us think we got angel wings, and we just floating all around. You gotta be grounded. You gotta be. And I don't mean that just from a gravity standpoint. I mean, ground yourself and make sure you don't have too many things going on at the same time, because it can be overwhelming. But like Brittany said, take a breath. It makes a difference. I know, for those that go to church, sometimes people say, "Breathe the air." Do you breathe it? Can you feel it when you let it go? And I'm telling you, when the spirit is really there, you really can breathe it in and just feel a difference. And you outside, sometimes I just ooh, like when I'm really getting overstimulated for other reasons. I have to take a deep breath and sigh for just a moment. So breathing is a great mechanism, a great tool to use when you're trying to reset your psyche.
It helps calm your nervous system.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, y'all. The pollen, they got me too. Already set me an appointment. Shout out to Latasha on here. She sent me a recommendation already. But another important tool is also, learning to step away from like constant stimulation can help. Like, it's okay. Stepping away from it don't mean anything. Again, it don't mean you're weak. It actually can help. So that might mean, and what I say by that for those who don't understand, like an example would be, like we mentioned before, turning off your phone for a while, or again, as some of you mentioned, spending time in a quiet place. Like stepping away from it all, it can actually really contribute to stimulation, and it actually helps. Yep,
it does. And I think too, y'all, and we talked about this before, setting those boundaries. Setting boundaries. I'm still learning. I'm doing better, but we got to set boundaries because some of us just let people run rapid in our lives and they have control, and we just sit there and been hijacked. Like I said last week, you will let somebody hijack your happiness. But some of us do that, but we got to set boundaries. That is a powerful step.
Yeah.
Set your boundaries. You still can love, you still can support people, but you don't have to take on everybody's responsibility. Like I said, everybody is not your assignment. And when you realize that, I'm telling you, you'll live life a little bit easier when you stop making everybody your assignment.
Yeah, and then for people who are like spiritually grounded, right? Like you can reconnect through prayer or reflection. Sometimes can bring a lot of peace.
Oh yeah,
as well. So those are for the ones that like are spiritually grounded.
The prayers of the righteous. Yes, and when you pray, believe, and when you stand up, believe that what you pray for, you shall have it. You shall receive it. So if you're praying for peace, believe that you shall have the peace. Now remember, faith without works is dead. So you got to put some work to it. You gotta, if you're asking for these things to help you get your peace and all of that, and you've got to put work to it. That means cut the phone off, cut the TV off. Do your part to ensure that you are getting that reset that you need. And sometimes, guys, we have to remember too, reset is just simply reconnecting with your purpose.
Ooh, say that again.
Sometimes it really is that. It's just simply reconnecting with your purpose. Reconnect. Because sometimes we lose what our purpose is. Sometimes we say, I don't even know what my purpose is. If that's you, I strongly suggest you start learning how to talk and pray about things and seek God's face for what is my purpose in life? What things do I feel like give me great pleasure and I'm helping someone to be a better them while, aiding to myself. So resetting is simply reconnecting with your purpose and remembering this along with it, that you are allowed to rest. Yep. That's key. Yep. You got to get the rest.
And so I guess just something to ponder on. If you want to answer, you can. But just think about like, what are the signs that your mind is becoming overwhelmed? Like, what are the signs that your mind has become overwhelmed? If you're not familiar with the signs, then that's the first step. Again, like we said, it's awareness. So, like, literally, I'm gonna put this in because I think it's good discussion prompts on kind of how to help each other as well as ourselves. Like, what are signs that your mind has become overwhelmed, and what habits help you protect your peace? If you don't have any habits, I'm also going to list certain things that I do. Again, it may help, it may not, but others are also welcome to add. I have an edit form on there. Hey Shay, I said without guilt. Yep. What Mama said without guilt. Yep. And before we close, because Lyric, I seen your question too,
Yeah.
so I'm gonna get to the questions. I had to write them down so I wouldn't forget. Because once you guys type, I didn't put the comments on the screen, so I can't see it. But before we just close today's conversation and get to the questions, we just want to literally like speak directly to anyone listening who might feel overwhelmed right now. And if your soul feels heavy today, we want you to know that you're not alone. Many people carry things that are silent, and it's okay to pause. It's okay to rest. You don't have to carry everything at once. I think we talked about that, like trying to pack up the luggage and you keep overstuffing it to where it won't zip, and then by the time you get there, everything just busts and fall out. You don't have to carry everything at once. And sometimes I know they say, "Well, my burden is not yours," or you know, you have to carry your own cross, or God died for him to carry the cross. But sometimes it's okay when you have a good support system. It doesn't mean that you're putting it on someone. Sometimes you have to let someone know or say, okay, can you help me carry this and have a destination, not for the whole entire time. And it's like a repeat and a recycle, but just for that moment. Hey, do you mind holding this for me? Take a little load off. Okay. And I'll hold it. But then if you have me holding it for too long, I'm going to call and say, hey, I done held this in my possession for a little too long. Let's go ahead and take care of it. What are we going to do with it? We tossing it? What are we going to deal with it? You keeping it? If you keeping it, okay, where are we going to store it at this time? So y'all know I like analogies, so just stay with me with it. But it's okay to sometimes to, if that means talking to somebody, venting to somebody, if that means seeing a therapist, so you don't have to carry everything mentally, that is okay. I don't know why we make it such a bad thing to go get mental health. Mental health is really real. And sometimes, if you don't feel like you have someone, sometimes it's not that you don't even have no one. Sometimes you do have people, but just to kind of get a new face, a new perspective, someone you don't know. Sometimes it can be like without judgment. It's okay. So we do have one that's coming up. It's going to be called Between the Couch and the Altars. So we will have some licensed therapists and counselors coming on for that one, because I'm excited for that one. But yeah, I just had to mention that you don't have to carry everything all by yourself. Um, Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do for your mind and spirit is simply slowing down and reset.
I think too, I just want to encourage y'all before we get into the questions and things. I just want to encourage y'all from that perspective, spiritually and mentally, because it's to me it goes hand in hand. But I do know in talking to different people and um, as we like to say, giving spiritual advice because I'm counseling you, but giving you spiritual advice. Um, I think that one thing that I run across a lot is people feeling ashamed and feeling like it's best for them to keep it inside of how they're feeling overwhelmed, and what's causing them to feel that way because they feel like they're going to be judged, right? And so a lot of times we keep carrying things on and keep, doing things that we may need to tell somebody, and they may be able to share something with you because you're not alone. There's nothing new under the sun. Anything that's being done now was done way back then. I promise you. Everything that is being done was done before. So I just encourage you all, especially the males listening, is not to be afraid to share, um, and find someone you can confide in. And when you if you're married, I know uh, sometimes you can confide in the spouse, and sometimes spouses can be the ones too to turn their head sideways on you sometimes. But like Brittany said, it's nothing wrong with you seeking some counsel where you can just be yourself. You ain't got to put the facade on. You ain't got to act like you got it all together. You don't know me and I don't know you, so I'm just coming to let it all out. But for those that maybe want to stay in the community and talk to somebody, find someone you can trust, someone that is not judgmental. But I truly encourage you to stop acting like overwhelmness is weakness, because that's where the enemy gets us at. If he can make us think that we're weak, don't you know overwhelmness, guys, will kill us? Because it equates to stress. Stress equates to high blood pressure. It equates to heart attacks. I mean, seriously, depression. You know, we got to be careful with certain stuff. Anxiety. It can result to some different things happening to us because we're so overwhelmed. Um, and if you're more overwhelmed than the person you helping, you really need to check that out one more time. Unless it's somebody who's needing care, right?
Yep. I agree with that because your psyche deserves attention, and your psyche and your soul definitely deserves care.
Yeah.
So when you take care of your inner world, you'll find that you'll show up in life with more clarity, more peace, peace and more strength.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go back to vulnerability does not mean weakness. Right. Can we discuss what taking a breath looks like when life demands like work, life, work, home responsibilities, etc. are so great, and there is no time for stepping away when it's not a people problem.
So is she meaning? Lyric, if you can chime in to make sure we understand what you're saying. So are you speaking on more like how do you step away from work? Like if work, because you can't just quit it, right? So you're saying how do you take that breath? What does that look like? Is that what you're asking us when it's not a people problem? So it's not a people problem. It's just life. And it's just work. And it's just home responsibilities. Is that what you're saying, Lyric? Want to make sure we're going to answer you right. She's still there. I'm gonna take it from that angle because I think that's what Lyric is saying. I think that's what she's meaning.
Meaning instead of stepping away from people, it's the life demand.
Okay, so it's just life, like what she was saying, like work and home responsibilities. Like you got responsibilities at home and stuff. What does that look like when you step away from that? Is what she's saying.
Okay, so an example, right? Like workspace leaders. It ain't gotta be leader, it could just be you in general too, like just being there for carrying everyone's expectations, right? Because at work, when we talk about life demands, it's really like the expectations of others that they have. Like you have a set goal, you got production you gotta make, you got all that stuff. I don't have to do that. So it's certain expectations that you gotta require, right? And so they're trying to make sure everything runs smoothly. And so, some employees may come to them with like complaints or deadlines are piling up, right? You got to have upper management for like expected results. So I think a psyche response would be like mental fatigue and you're overloaded with decisions. But a reset and how you can reset, for an example, would be like you can start delegating tasks to certain ones, right? Because they use that word like, oh, we're a teamwork. Are you a good team leader? Are you a good teammate? Like helping others reach out. They'll have you do those questionnaires. What's the questionnaires y'all be giving out? They
surveys.
The surveys they have where they be like, how are you doing with the stuff? Their surveys are different from my stuff. What I call my stuff questionnaires. They have their surveys. But, you can start delegating some tasks to some teammates and say, hey, I have this. Can you assist with that? Long as it's not taken from theirs. Or you can take a mental break. I don't know about some companies, but I know mine's like you get to take a mental break. Even just having an extra bathroom break or just reconnecting with the purpose behind the leadership or behind your job. I think that would be a way of kind of helping you with life demands when it comes to work and your work responsibilities. Because I know we have it where you don't want to act like you're not doing your work or because you're asking a teammate for help or to kind of help you go through the task or delegating the task to them. But it's okay to do that. Like I help mine all the time. Like teamwork really make the dream work. And if they're like how we are, I will speak up like, hey, okay, I got this and this. I can help you with this. You might have to reach out to somebody else for this one, and that's okay too. But definitely learn how to delegate some tasks. That's what I would say for work.
Yeah. And I would say too, it just depends again on what your position is at work, right? Because we know it's supposed to work, as you climb up, things get easier. But it depends on what industry you're in for that. But I would definitely agree with Brittany on that. It is, trying to show that delegation, but I would say on the level of a frontline employee, right? We don't get to delegate a lot when you're a frontline employee. So what I would say, to you with that, with a step away, would be just you realigning yourself. Like the company has goals, and that's great, but you need to have some interim goals yourself. So I would say, the older Brenda looking at the younger Brenda, right, would say to frontline staff, don't let somebody else's business overwhelm you to the point where you are burnt out. Vacation should be offered, right? Most jobs give you vacation. Like Brittany said, most jobs now give mental health days because people need it. And then some jobs give you sick days. I would just encourage you. I would say to you with that, because you can't just up and quit, right? Because somebody got to pay the bills. So I get it. So that would be my advice to you in a standpoint of work is if you're a frontline staff, then you need to reassess yourself and see, is this particular job lining up with what I'm trying to do and where I'm trying to go? And if it's not, then we need to start looking for those industries that are. I would say home responsibilities. Home responsibilities a lot, but if I got spouses out there with each other, it's about balance. And again, for my men folks that's on here, women folks on here, you may agree and disagree with me, but I don't believe in that gender responsibility in a home. If the house is dirty and it needs to be clean, who cares who cleans it? It needs to be clean. Now, if you got more time, clean it. But if we're both working, we're both contributing and stuff, and I'm tired, you're tired, then we help each other. So with responsibilities at home, you can't just, foregoing the dishes being the sink. That's one of my pet peeves. But things like that. But with the responsibility, just depends on your dynamic of your home. But it's all about talking. If you got that partner, talk that thing through. Sit down and map that thing out. Here's what, is overwhelming me. When you leave all your clothes here and they all in the floor and yada, 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 it's overwhelming me because I don't like all this clutter. So I just think it's just about being honest with that situation. And so we can't just walk away from it because it's not a people problem. Sometimes it's responsibility, the bills, all that stuff. I think it's important, right? Because to each his own, everybody's household's different, but to each his own. But I think that's one way that you get a chance to breathe is to sit down and map that thing out. What's overwhelming you in the house? Is that something that your partner can help you with? Or is it something you need to reassess yourself with? So that's what I would say to you from a
standpoint. And I know we got 5 minutes.
I'm so sorry.
To cut you off
sorry.
Because we do have a minute. I did not want to look like we was overlooking
the
men.
Sorry.
So he is speaking from a man perspective. A lot of times when you're a man in certain positions, we're expected to be strong all the time and not show any signs of weakness.
And shame on us.
Yeah.
Shame on us.
Yeah.
I'd say that.
Because I think it was kind of asked something. Apostle Woods had posted something earlier, and this is my response. That is so true, and like she said, shame on us women. Not all, but shame on us. I'm gonna say us, because it is like that. That if a man even cries, right? Like, oh, you're not strong, you weak. Why you crying? Suck those tears up, man. That stick your chest out, right? And you guys are human just like us. You got the emotions just like us. So why are you all forced to have to suck up and don't shed no tears or, can't know. So as I mentioned before, it's okay for you to show emotion. And then even when you're with a spouse and you're married or even a relationship, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever the case may be, significant other, whatever that is, when someone is able to show you their vulnerability, like Lyric had mentioned before, vulnerability is not weakness. When someone entrusts you enough to share and be vulnerable with you, that means you're their emotional safety. And when someone is your emotional safety, they really trust you enough to let down all their weight, to drop all the weight, to let down all the barriers to be able to share with you. And so if they're able to do that, please, 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 please don't mess up that emotional safety and make it an emotional hazard or a danger zone for them where they're like, oh wow, you're not even hearing. Please listen. So that is shame on us. But um I would say I don't think it's a sign of weakness. I look at it as you knowing that you have an emotional safety somewhere, whether that's in a person. Sometimes like emotional safety being dogs, like people really do have their animals where, you know, they're walking with a dog and be like, oh, this is my Lord, I'm getting a blank. What the dog's called?
Uh, Service dog.
Yeah, the service dog. But I was looking for something else, but I know what I'm talking about. But anyways, you'll see them with
Emotional
like a
support.
dog is a man's best friend, but it can also be a girl, a woman's best friend. But I'm just saying, like you also have like certain service animals that they're your emotional support animals. That's what I was looking for. The emotional support animals, and that stuff is real. So sometimes it's not even in a person. Sometimes people find it in animals. Sometimes people find it in places. You go to like your favorite restaurant or just have coffee, and that don't mean that that's a sign of weakness. So, you know.
Yeah.
It's true though. Y'all are definitely in positions, and we really need to kind of change that narrative and switch the narrative on it.
Yeah.
Because that's very, very prominent, especially in African American men, especially. It's in men too, but then there's a higher set when it comes to African American men as well, just with history and things um, that y'all been through and that we can see from the time to time. So I would agree with that. And then lyric also, I did have some examples just in case if it wasn't any questions where your question you was talking about with life demands. Also, I had it written down too from the workplace leaders and like caregivers, right? The emotional weight of caregivers for others, right? If you have a mother who's constantly giving, constantly taking care of the kids, or checking in on the family members, or if you constantly have a man, because sometimes there are men I have worked with where they're the primary caregiver, that's constantly taking care of everyone else, right? And they're helping their friends through their problems. Everyone's seeing them as strong, but internally they're exhausted. And then like one day something small happened, like the child could spill a drink or someone just bumps into them. It can be a small, just hey girl, hey boy, whatever. And then all of a sudden they just kind of like snap and becomes overwhelmed, or they just start crying like, oh my god, I can't do this. You know, it's because their mind and emotions got overloaded from constantly giving without rest. And so, an example for a reset would be kind of setting aside small moments for themselves, right? The quiet time, the prayer, the journaling, even sitting in silence just for a few minutes each day, right? Because caregivers are often forgotten, right? And they deserve care too. Even though they're giving care to somebody else, they also deserve care themselves. And I've seen that firsthand with my Aunt Wendy. So I always commend her for that for my grandma because they deserve care too, which is why I love on her the way I do. And then also with church leaders, and I know it's supposed to be 8, so it's not gonna let me edit my stuff right, but it's okay. Church leaders, right? When you hear bishop or pastor or ministry leader, like sometimes they are also emotionally drained too. You gotta think about they're praying for people, they're counseling, they're teaching, organizing church events, all that stuff, and like giving spiritually to others. So probably they begin to feel spiritually drained, and that is such a thing. I don't care what nobody says, you can feel spiritually drained. And because rarely they get time to really sit quietly with themselves and just with God because everyone is always pulling on them or calling on them, right? Sometimes we act like they are guys instead of going to God, but that's another thing. But that's a spiritual burnout. So I'll say a reset example for that as well. It's just like taking intentional time to reconnect with God personally, right? Not just preparing messages or helping others, but also like really, really restoring your own soul.
Yeah.
Just a little nugget for you.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
Yeah, because you can still serve God, you know, faithfully, wholeheartedly, but you still need moments where your own spirit needs to be restored.
Oh, I know that.
Like you got to get it
It's
restored.
it's a must.
Yeah.
It's a must. And it does happen. And you can tell when someone's in a burnout stage. You can. So we have to do our job to uplift our leaders and make sure we're not adding to that unnecessary stress.
Yeah.
But they do have to recognize it too. And I mean, when you think about it and you look at TV and different things that you hear, it is so many pastors walking away from the pulpit. It is so many of them committing suicide and just really just going out their mind. And a lot of it is because they were overwhelmed and just didn't know how to raise their hand.
Yeah.
Jesus didn't ask us to be him. He asked us to be the servant, right?
And this is for I didn't mean to cut you
That's
off,
okay.
but this is for the young people. And sometimes there's older folks that be on social media all day long, but this is for the young people getting overstimulated, but like in a, as we call it, a digital world, where you're constantly connected to social media, school pressure, expectations from families,
Ooh,
right?
yeah.
Or trying to figure out your identity and your purpose, because that is a norm that we go through, right? When we're trying to figure out identity and our purpose. But when you're scrolling through social media, we mentioned this before, you can compare yourself to others. You begin to feel anxious or
Ooh,
inadequate, right? And
yeah.
so the psyche response is that, okay, I'm overstimulated and now I have emotional pressure and or the peer pressure, right? But a reset example, and I encourage you to do, is to take breaks from social media, right? Spend time doing activities that bring peace. Like, it's okay to take a break and do something that you actually love, that bring you peace, not that bring others peace, but bring you peace, and start focusing on your own personal growth rather than comparison. That would be my little nuggets there when it comes to a reset example for the young people, in just today's society when you're feeling overstimulated, right? Because young people today often need to learn, how to quiet the noise around them. Sometimes we want to join in on the noise and stuff, but sometimes, it's okay to quiet the noise. What did I say I had came up with and I was telling you? What was it? Oh, peace over proven. That's gonna be a title. Peace over proven. You ain't gotta prove yourself to nobody. Be quiet. Choose your peace. It's peace over proven. Proven to expectations, or proven to other people's expectations. All that you don't have to prove yourself. Just choose your peace over proven, and let God handle the rest. And then I'm gonna end with this. This is for the strong friends. This is for me, some of my friends. More, this is for us. So many times in the group, right, your friend group, you may have this one person or certain people that everyone would kind of go through, right? They listen, they encourage or give advice. But when that same person is struggling, they don't feel comfortable reaching out because everyone expects them to be the strong one. So eventually you feel emotionally drained and you feel alone. And the psyche response to that is emotional exhaustion, because that's real. From carrying other people's problems. Even with psychologists, psychiatrists, therapists, counselors, also with them too, because they're also carrying other people's problems and helping them guide through the best way of life that they can. And so sometimes that can take an emotional exhaustion on you too, because now you end up, you're not supposed to, but it can become emotional draining for you. So sometimes a reset example would be, it's just to, begin opening up to trusting people and allowing themselves to receive, support as well. And when I'm saying their stuff, I mean in ourselves, allowing us to receive support as well. Of course, in certain professions, you can't tell or talk about certain things because of confidentiality. But certain things you can allow yourself to open up to you that's dealing with you personal. And so that's just a little nugget to the strong friends out there that everyone wants to call. And so that's all I have to say. You have anything to say?
Nope. I think that was good. I think you hit everybody. So
Okay,
I think
thank
that was
you.
good.
Oh, wait, for the little ones. Okay,
Um,
little ones, if you're out there watching, because there be some views on TikTok. I don't know who they be. But for students who be juggling work, you got extracurricular activities. Again, it goes with that family expectations and trying to, like, plan your future. At some point, you may start feeling like you're failing, even when you're doing your best. And I will attest, because again, I said I'm not a perfectionist. I don't think I'm perfect, but I did have perfectionistic tendencies. And I can attest, my psyche response to that is me having stress and performance anxiety. Like, I will overthink a question so many times and I know the answer, but I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm rethinking, like, oh no, they're trying to trick me. Okay, it's gonna be this answer. Well, no, it can't be that easy. Why would it be that easy? That's how I used to be, y'all. And it used to, ooh, I know it drove my mama insane. It used to drive me insane with stress and performance anxiety. So I would say a reset example would be, learn to take breaks. Organize your priorities. Organize, like, literally have a list from 1 to 5. And if you can keep growing with your list, 1 to 10, other different things. Organize your priorities and remind yourself that your worth is not based on your achievements. Hear me again, y'all, for the ones that are in class, even students, for college students. It don't matter, young, middle aged, college student, even for the older folks who are still in school. But just the pressure to succeed. Just know your worth is not based on your achievement. Okay, your mind needs balance. It doesn't need consistent pressure. And that's all. That's it. That's all.
you
So it
covered
has.
everybody.
Yes, I think I did.
Okay.
But if I did, y'all have some other ones, let me know, and I'll write it in the chat to
Yes.
see how our
Yes.
psyche responds, and then how we can reset it and reset our psyche back. So I actually enjoyed this.
I did too.
Are
And
you
I
gonna
needed
reset?
this. Oh, I'm definitely resetting.
I'm resetting.
I'm resetting.
I might have to reset again a few more times, but I'm resetting.
Yeah, I'm resetting. All right, y'all. Well, we love y'all. We've enjoyed this time with you all. We went over a little bit. We do apologize for that. We're trying to get on time and end on time. But we thank y'all for joining us. Please, 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 please invite your friends, family, anyone that you think can benefit from listening to this. We are here every Tuesday at 7 p.m. And then on Fridays at sometimes it'll be 7, sometimes it'll be earlier. If we go live, it can be earlier than 7. But if we don't go live and we do a pre-recorded, it will come on at 7. But we just invite you, if you haven't already, join our community. And again, we are here to help everybody from every walk of life. Everyone's welcome here in this community. But we hope that you've enjoyed this segment with us today. And remember, this was all about you needing a psyche reset.
Yep.
We love y'all. Take care.